Hey, welcome back to Bedroom Studio Guy. Name's Brent. On my intro video for this brand new channel, I talked about the pitfalls you could fall into when you're just starting off in creating a bedroom studio. So I'd like to talk about that in this episode. About 2 years ago, I went on a journey to um, leave Cakewalk. I used Cakewalk for a long time. Didn't have very many third-party plugins. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I did some good demos and I learned the program and I enjoyed it pretty much. Then of course, you know, Gibson bought it and Gibson just put no support into it and it became a kind of a train wreck. And then BandLab got it. BandLab did some great stuff with it. So kudos to BandLab for making it a great free DAW. And I still have it over in one of these monitors on my other computer. Um, but I wanted to find something else to see what was out there. I didn't really, other than Pro Tools, I never even really knew about any of these other DAWs. And then I'm always one to do searches. So doing searches, I found out there was, Ableton and Logic and Cubase and Reaper and, uh, you know, so many different DAWs. And I landed on Studio One, primarily because it seemed, at least at the time, to mimic kind of the essence of what Cakewalk was for me. I don't know, just seemed that way in terms of workflow and visual. I could be completely wrong on that, but I did my research. I liked what I saw. I liked what I read, and I'm like, yep, I'm hanging my hat on Studio One. And I'll tell you what, I am so glad I did. I think I get into Studio One version 3 ish. We're at version 6 now, and they've just incrementally made great changes. And you never really learn everything there is about a DAW, or maybe you do. There's experts out there. I'm not one of them. But I learn stuff every day, and I've been with it for going on 2 years or so. It's amazing. Anyway, I digress. The thing I wanted to talk about is plugins. So I made the mistake, me and one of my best friends who went down the Cubase path, we would get into, hey, did you see this new plugin? And we'd like, oh, it'd be on YouTube. And, you know, there's a million guys on YouTube, like YouTube sales guys. The latest, greatest, game-changing plugin. And you just watch these things and you're just like Pavlov's dog salivating. Oh, I gotta get this plugin. It's gonna make everything better. Oh, my vocals will be better. And then you buy the plugin and you realize, I probably had a stock plugin that could do that. So, went down that rabbit hole, and that's the thing I would encourage you to avoid starting off. I made the mistake of running before I could walk, running to these third-party subscriptions with all their plugins before learning the really good stock plugins that exist in Studio One. Learn those first. The Fat Channel's killer. The Pro EQ has been upgraded for being able to do dynamic EQ. The compressor, straight ahead compressor, but learn that one. They've got everything in there you could possibly want to make killer music with that set of tools. Are they Snap-on quality tools? I don't know, maybe not, but a great mechanic could take any basic tools and fix your car. It's just tools. So, kind of went down the Plugin Alliance route. They had a great business model in terms of getting vouchers to buy other plugins, and depending on how you did it, if you paid up front for the subscription or if you know, for the whole year, or if you just went monthly, you got varying levels of voucher that you could buy some of the plugins that you really liked outright and have the perpetual license for those. So I went down that road. Plugin Alliance is fantastic. Now, everything I'm going to say is just my personal opinion and my experience. So don't, take that with a grain of salt. I found a lot of the Plugin Alliance plugins to just be overcomplicated for me. Too many buttons and knobs, and it was just, some of them were just overwhelming. Probably wouldn't be that way now. I've learned a lot since then, but I just didn't vibe with me. So I bought the ones I thought were really cool. I think I got Black Box, and I forget, I'd have to go through my many hundreds of plugins. But I bought the ones that I liked and appealed to me, but eventually I just stopped that subscription. Then I discovered Slate Digital, and little controversial maybe. Some people don't like Stephen Slate. I don't know. He's a great salesman. He's a great pitchman. He's impossibly too good looking to be that passionate about his products, but I believe the guy. I really believe that he believes in his products, the passion he has for his products, and so I bought into the Slate All Access Pass, which is phenomenal. A lot of people don't like the VMR. I don't have an issue with the VMR. The VMR works for me. I like being able to swap plugins around and pull them in and have all that chain in one rack. I don't know why people get their undies in a twist over that, but again, that's just me. I don't have a problem with the VMR. Some of the other plugins in Slate, they're absolutely must-haves for me, are Verb Suite Classics. I think that's one of the best reverb plugins on the market. Repeater is a phenomenal delay plugin that I use on almost all my mixes. And it's a great value for the money with Slate Digital. Okay, so we all know what happened with Waves, right? Waves comes out. People are already pissed off with Waves because you get that update plan, and you feel like you're getting a bargain for $29.99, and then all of a sudden your plugin won't work, and you got to update it. And I get that. It's kind of a uncouth way to do things, I would say, perhaps. But then they also went subscription. So there's a few Waves plugins I gotta have. MV2, RBass. There's just some fantastic Waves plugins. They're an old company, but I kind of feel like Waves is almost like the Dollar General of plugins. The Walmart of plugins. I don't know why that is. That's probably just me. Maybe because they're so cheap, you kind of equate inexpensive with not great quality plugins. They make great plugins. So I did the subscription to Waves. I did the smaller of the two, Waves Essential. And it just piled my plugin manager with like 2,000 plugins, or I don't know, some ridiculous amount of plugins. So when I fire up Studio One, I always have my plugin manager scanning. I have like 2,500 plugins. And so I went through all the plugins, and the thing I didn't like was, and maybe someone could tell me in the comments how to fix this, I realized that it gave me every plugin that Waves makes. Not that I could use them. The ones that belong in the upper tier subscription, I couldn't use, and you try to plug it in, and there'd be a yellow bar in the bottom saying, "Oh, you don't have access to the demo, blah blah blah." I'm like, well, why did I get stuck with all these plugins I can't use? That seemed kind of weird to me. I know you can hide them, or you can put them in the block list or whatever, but it didn't sit real well with me. Um, but we'll get back to that. IK Multimedia. I ended up buying that unit I talked about the other day, the XIO. It's an interface, kind of geared for guitar players. I used that, and it came bundled with a bunch of their plugins, and they got some great stuff too. The Max 4 bundle or something, similar to Slate, where you get a rack, almost same as Slate. You get a rack of the mix box, I think it's called, or whatever, and a bunch of other plugins. And I like IK Multimedia. So when I got that, I was like, well, I don't need Slate, right? These are new plugins. I've been using Slate for a while. So I stopped the Slate subscription. And so I have that. Oh, wait a minute. SSL. Oh my God, SSL. That's like, SSL. I did my first real solo album in a real studio in Charlotte, and I recorded that album on an SSL 9000J console. I don't know what that means. All I know is a very expensive console, and it was amazing working in that studio. And then you realize, SSL is legendary in the recording world. And then they came out with their own plugins, so it's like, oh my God, SSL plugins. So I got that subscription, and this is going to sound nuts. Just didn't vibe with them. For whatever reason, I did not vibe with the SSL plugins. I bought a couple of them. I think, the drum strip and the vocal strip, but I just didn't vibe with them. And now here's the whole crux of this thing, right? It's option paralysis, plugin paralysis. You have too many freaking plugins, and you start getting used to certain ones, and then your brain's like, whoa, I don't want to spend the time to learn this new one when I know I can get the quick results over here. So, and I think that's what happened with the SSL stuff. The other thing is SSL plugins are pretty expensive. If you try to buy them outright, you got to catch them on sales, and there's some ridiculous sales, and sometimes on Plugin Boutique. The plugin will be $2.99, and then you can get it for $20. Grab them if you want them when that happens. But I didn't vibe with SSL, so I killed that subscription, and so I was down to Slate, All Access, and Waves. And I dumped Waves. That's right. I re-upped with Waves, and I re-upped with Slate All Access, and I dumped Waves. And I think I'm good now. So I only have my Sphere subscription for Studio One. And if you're in a band or you're recording with people from all over the world, which is the great thing about today's software, Sphere is awesome. Their collaboration module is finally really, really working out, because I am recording an album with some long time friends of mine in a band called Night Rider. I'm in Colorado. Lead singer, songwriter, guitar players in Connecticut, bass players in southern New Hampshire, other guitar players in the middle of the state of New Hampshire. We're all over the place, but we don't have to be in the same room, right? With this Sphere collaboration thing they have, I can get a reference track, I can play the drums here, I can upload it to the collaboration Sphere, the bass player can grab it, he can do his part, the other guitar player can grab, it's awesome. So for me, that's worth the $14.99 a month subscription price to have Sphere. And there's a lot of other things too. Studio One is awesome at teaching you Studio One. when you're in Sphere and you're looking around at the tutorials, they've just got tons and tons. If you can't learn Studio One, you're not trying. It's just they of all the DAWs out there, I think they have the most comprehensive content to teach you how to use the DAW. So keep that in mind too. Um, so yeah, I got the Waves plugins I want. I'm keeping Slate. I love Slate. All right, people can bash Slate or they like Slate. I love Slate. I have the VSX. I have the virtual mic system, which works for me. I like the program, the plugins. I like the virtual mix rack. I'm happy with that. And between that, IK Multimedia and the stock plugins, I don't need any more plugins. And again, right, here's the problem. Every time somebody else comes out with a new plugin, or you watch, our YouTube heroes out there, which are, your Warren Hewerts and, your Chris Lord Alges and all these guys, and they recommend a plugin, you're all over it because, well, shit, these guys are using it. It's going to be awesome. And a lot of times they are, right? Learn your stock plugins first. Before you go down the rabbit hole, I spent a lot of money on subscriptions only to drop them when 99% of everything I needed to do was right in Studio One stock plugins. Learn those first, and then if you want to pick up a subscription from Slate or Waves or Plugin Alliance or SSL or whomever, and they're all good. All these plugins are good. The plugin developers have just done an amazing job with this stuff now. Yeah, there's probably some stinkers out there, or whatever, but again, it's learning how to use them and with the intent of what to do with them, and learn the ins and outs of them. Read the manuals, Oh, wait a minute. I forgot about Softtube as a company. I love Softtube. So I have a Gobbler account, and I've got a bunch of Softtube plugins. I got to put those right up there with any plugins I've ever dealt with. I love Softtube as a company. I love their plugins. I have yet to find a plugin from Softtube that stinks. I highly recommend Softtube plugins. They can be a little pricey too, but they just make great stuff. Great emulations of their channel strips are killer. I like their amp room. I'm demoing that now. The Marshall Suite is killer. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff there as well. Softtube. So see what I mean? So many choices. So many choices. So learn your stock plugins first, and then when you start going to, you may not ever want to leave, your stock plugins. Joe Gilder, who works for Presonus, uses predominantly all his stock plugins. That guy makes phenomenal sounding music. Been doing it for years. It's just stock plugins. So don't let anyone tell you can't make great music with the stuff that comes with Studio One or with your Cubase or your Pro Tools or whatever. But don't make the mistake I did and just, I gotta get this one. I got this subscription, that subscription, this subscription. Because you'll just end up with way too many plugins, and then when you go to pick a compressor, you're just going to be spending 20 minutes demoing compressors, and after a while you just don't even know which one was what and which one sounded good, and it's like, it doesn't freaking matter. Pick the tool, get the job done, and move on. I'm still in this rabbit hole to some degree, but there is that dopamine hit from buying a new plugin. Let's all be honest, right? You buy something fun, and it's another little toy, and you get to play with it, and it's fun, and then you realize, okay, yeah, on to the next one. So, drag it on a little bit. Learn your stock plugins before you start your third-party plugins, and you'll be a happy camper. All right, please give me a subscribe, give me a like, and help grow this channel. And fire up your DAW and make some music. That's what this is all about.